Hello, guys. So we have another episode. I think we go. It's been long that we recorded two back-to-back episodes in two consecutive days, owing to various work-related and other commitments as well. Having said that, genuinely happy to do some amount of groundwork and try to understand what's in store for us in this IPL 2021. Really, very much looking forward to, and of course, I mean it's not an year, so I wasn't necessarily missing a lot of IPL, to be honest, uh, because we just finished one in the month of October, and now here we are in the month of April, and we have a full-fledged IPL in between, wherein India played a very cramped, tight ODI tests and T20 series across Australia and India. So uh, here we are. I think we will firstly start with few teams that we thought we should be previewing, being Kolkata, Chennai, Delhi, and lastly Mumbai today, and then we'll cover the rest four teams tomorrow. So, hello, Pavan Bhaiya, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, Ravi, and thanks for that intro. And I think all of us are looking forward to the ensuing IPL season that should keep all the cricket lovers hooked on for the next couple of months.
Hmm. Absolutely, yes, and it's going to be really exciting because the backdrop is a lot more complicated. I mean, right from COVID cases, wherein they were lesser perhaps in the month of September, October, BCCI has ensured that they were going to host a tournament not necessarily in India but in UAE. And now here we are in the month of April with surging cases across India. BCCI has picked four solid, most populated cities perhaps to host this, and it's a tricky call. Fingers crossed. I just want a smooth and safe IPL, and before we kind of pray and go ahead with the tournament, I thought we'll quickly preview the four teams, and I kind of wanted to start with Kolkata Knight Riders. Uh, Really interesting team. They start off the rounds in Chennai, which happens to be a very good turning wicket, and they have their artillery to ensure the spin department will actually respond on time. And also, I'm very excited for also Harbhajan Singh. So it would be really interesting to see how Kolkata would play. I'm guessing they would like to play both Varun Chakravarti, Harbhajan, and also Shakib Al Hasan as a key all-rounder. And I think that's a killer spin lineup. Coming to the batting, definitely yes. I mean, Shubman, Rahul Tripathi, Nitish Rana. So the top three looks solid with all the Indian artillery. But having said that, I'm also looking forward to see if Nitish Rana would actually open. Uh, it's very important for them to, for Andre Russell to be back in form. He didn't necessarily have a very good IPL 2020, but having said that, these are Indian pitches, maybe smaller boundaries. So I'm expecting him to easily clear the ground and whatnot. And we've seen Dinesh Karthik also hit a lot in the nets in the last 45, 50 days because of not necessarily much of workload. Him being absent from Indian team probably is also one more reason. So with Pat Cummins also, leading the pace attack, Lockie Ferguson being an active, being an alternative, and Prasidh Krishna, who recently made his Indian debut, I think KKR look far more balanced, far more polished than the last season. And you know, they play in Chennai and also in Ahmedabad. So four games they play in Ahmedabad. So it would be really interesting to see which of the wickets they play in Ahmedabad because it's a huge square and there are wickets favoring spin as well. And coming to their Bengaluru games wherein they play about five of them, that those round as well would get really tricky. So I think the Chennai Rubbers, they should maybe it's expected uh, for them to win all three of them. And the spin power is their attack is what I personally feel. And I think that's my take on Kolkata. And what's your view, Bhaiya? What do you think?
Yeah, I think they have pretty much got a very well-rounded bowling attack. Considering both their fast bowling and spin stocks. And as you mentioned, as far as spin is concerned, they've got a lot of mystery spin, but uh, God knows which form they're going to turn up into, especially the likes of Sunil Narayan, Kuldeep Yadav, and Varun Chakravarti. They will bank on them to come good. as well as Harbhajan Singh lending his experience, and Ian Morgan sounding out how he'll be critical on that Chennai pitch, which is expected to aid spinners. So, what kind of combination of spinners that they would want to go in with remains to be seen. And as far as their fast bowling stocks are concerned, they are very well covered in that as well. As far as overseas talent is concerned, Pat Cummins and Lottie Ferguson lead the way, and they've got very impressive Indian talent as well. The youngsters in the form of
Mhm.
Mavi Nagarkoti and Prasid Krishna form the bulk of the Indian pace attack that they have. Sandeep Warrior from Kerala is another good option that they have at their disposal as well. But it would be the batting, as far as I'm concerned, that would dictate their progress in the tournament and how wisely they use their batting resources. And as you mentioned, the Indian batting talent of Shubman Gill, Rahul Tripathi, Nitish Rana would be very critical to them at the top of the order. It remains to be seen if they are going to use somebody like a Karan Nair as well, uh, or Gurkirat, who lately replaced Rinku Singh, who was out with an injury for them. Uh, so I think they are very well served as far as the Indian talent is concerned. And when it comes to the four overseas players, that would be your top picks, for a first choice 11. Obviously, Captain Morgan will be there as one of the overseas player leading them. He was critical to them both as a leader and as a player, I think, just as with England. Then I think they should be going into Shakib Al Hasan because of the variety of options that he provides with both bat and ball, and he's a terrific fielder. And Pat Cummins would be the third player in there. And the fourth player, um, yes, Andre Russell is a very effective T20 player, but in the last couple of seasons, he has not had that kind of effect that he is known for. Um it's tapered off a bit. So that's the reason I think they strengthened their squad and provided a backup in the form of somebody like a Ben Cutting as well. Um, so I think whoever out of Russell and Ben Cutting is in good form. I think they're going to start off with Russell, and if he does not deliver the goods, then they might look at Ben Cutting to serve their purpose. Dinesh Karthik should start off behind the stumps for them, but they also have an exciting option. But this an overseas wicketkeeper in the form of Tim Seifert, and we all know that he's been in stupendous form for New Zealand in the T20 format, and he's an explosive option as well, who can be
Mhm.
used as a floater or at the top of the order as well. So all in all, I think that they have a good squad, and as I mentioned, they would depend heavily on their bowling and their power hitters to come good. Um, and with the leadership fiasco also sorted out now from their end, uh, they will look forward to achieve their first goal of making it to the playoffs at the start of the season.
Interesting take there, and I think that pretty much sums up where Kolkata stand. And I think like how we kind of discussed, the Chennai and Mumbai rubber would be quite interesting to see. I mean, let's go to Chennai Super Kings next. Firstly, to talk about their fixtures, because it's important to see what is their artillery, because they necessarily haven't bought players or made those moves keeping in mind this cross fixtures. And I think they're kind of on the back foot on that front. They play at Mumbai and Bangalore, solid 8 games out of their 14. Uh, and these two grounds more or less do not necessarily favor uh, spin on the face of it, and largely are to do with high scoring venues. And this is one area where Chennai miserably failed last season. uh, I mean, being an ardent MS Dhoni fan, I think there has to be some amount of blame that he also has to take with the approach that was there the last season around. Of course, kind of made the comeback, and were able to not necessarily finish eighth, but nonetheless they were looking favorites to finish eighth. And to be honest, the last probably 3 or 4 teams, in fact, finished on the same points, and it was quite tricky, wasn't it? So the first 5 games Chennai plays at Mumbai. Wankhede has always been a bit pacey wicket, wherein good number of runs can be scored with ball properly coming onto the bat. Would be interesting to see that side as well. And now, I don't know. It's a wild guess or probably wild prediction, but I'm genuinely expecting Robin Uthappa to come really good this season. Uh, I don't know, unpopular opinion, but I don't know. I'm quite confident that he would end up scoring more than 400 runs, or probably more than 450. With Robin in, there's a lot of experience. Ambati is around too. Ruturaj Gaikwad will open the innings. Suresh Raina is there now to stabilize the middle order. Sam Curran is in terrific form and he's loved by the Chennai Super Kings fans as well. So it would be really, really interesting. And then the spin attack still looks solid with probably Mohin, Ravindra Jadeja, and Imran Tahir. Uh, if they can get solid 12 overs, and if MS is able to manage uh, the field then, or probably the game then during these 12 overs, I think they pretty much have the game on their side. Deepak Chahar and Shardul Thakur can definitely give those solid 8 overs, but let's not forget Sam Curran is still around. So this playing 11 is something uh, I think that they're doing much better and they are far more balanced than the last time around. Had they were playing at Chepauk, we could have definitely expected a top four finish, but or probably a top two finish from Chennai. But nonetheless, they may surprise anyone with the master leading the team. Uh, One more player that I'm actually looking forward on, or probably I'm quite excited, is maybe Cheteshwar Pujara getting a couple of games because I've been reading a lot with respect to his new bat and how he's able to clear the boundaries and whatnot. And also Harishankar Reddy, a guy from Andhra, happens to be a fast bowler. Uh, uh, of course, I'm quite curious if he'll be getting a game or two, because I've been hearing good things and apparently MS was quite impressed with the way he was bowling. So that's my take on Chennai. What do you think, Bhav?
Yeah, I think they have some catching up to do, and uh, in all fairness, it would be prudent to say that this will be MS Dhoni's last season, possibly actively playing for CSK.
Mhm,
I'm pretty much sure that he's going to be involved in some or the other capacity with the franchise going forward as well for the rest of his life. And last season was a dip for them. For the first time, they did not make it to the playoffs, and they'll look to redeem themselves. And like you mentioned, they are going to be playing at most of their games at high-scoring venues. And I see their best option being Delhi, which is traditionally a low and slow pitch. That is the pitch which will be as close to Chennai as possible. Of course, Mumbai, Bangalore, and Kolkata are very good pitches when it comes to batting, and they have always based their squad around uh, the spin options that they have at their disposal. I think they should be well served with Faf du Plessis and uh, Ruturaj Gaikwad at the top of the order, and I think they'll have a solid Indian middle order in place. You know, you have the likes of Robin Uthappa, Ambati Raidu, Suresh Raina makes a comeback. It remains to be seen how effective he's going to be. And then you'll obviously have Captain Thala, MSD in there. And as far as their other three overseas slots are concerned, so one is Faf. It'll be interesting to see whom they play. Sam Curran, I think, will be one viable option because of the all-round options that he presents. Moeen Ali also is a very nice buy that they had in this auction. Uh, I don't see Dwayne Bravo, playing the complete season. He might play the one-odd match because he and Sam Curran are backup for each other. So whoever is in good form currently, they might employ them. Um, and as far as the bowling stock, overseas bowling stock is concerned, I think very well served with Imran Tahir and Mitchell Santner as well. So I think they are going to start off with Imran Tahir being the wrist spinner in there, and I
mhm.
see Lungi Ngidi also being a player to watch out for as far as the fast bowling arsenal for CSK is concerned. Um, and then Ravindra Jadeja, I think, is going to be the pivot around which the team revolves. Is going to lend that balance to the side. Uh, I don't see them playing both Santon and Jadeja together, so it'll be Jadeja, I think, to start off with. Uh, and they're very well served in the form of Deepak Chahar as well as Shardul Thakur as far as the Indian bowling is concerned. Um, yeah, it remains to be seen how they are going to handle high scoring venues, especially Mumbai and Kolkata, because they don't seem to be have they don't seem to be having a whole lot of power hitters in their squad, and most of these players are spent forces, if you would like to say, as far as their uh, cricketing ability of the international caliber is concerned. But CSK has always surprised you
Mhm.
uh, from the time they were termed as Dad's Army in 2018, and they had that comeback and they won the IPL over there. So you can always ignore CSK at your own peril. They just have that knack of producing results when it matters the most. Just that they were not able to get across the line last year, and it had to do a lot with the combination as well. Probably for the first time, MSD was not sure about the combination as well, and as the IPL was nearing its end, they got into a substantial amount of form,
That's right.
uh, and sort of got a hang of playing 11 that they should be having. So I expect that continuity to be in place at the start of this season as well, and I'm expecting them to put up a tough fight. And as you mentioned, Cheteshwar Pujara, it'll be absolutely wonderful to see him, and I would love to see him prove everybody else, wrong, and so show the world a different facet of his game as well. Because 2020 is also not all slam bang, and when there is a collapse, sometimes that takes place. Uh, that's you need such kind of batsmen to hold fort as well. So this is a good platform for him to showcase the other side of his game as well. So uh, yeah, they will be depending a lot on their experienced players, irrespective of that, and that's what forms their majority of the team. And it will be interesting to see if they're going to give any of their young guns, the fringe players like Harishankar Reddy, KM Asif, Christopher Gautam is also there in the mix, Karan Sharma. They can be used at any point of time, but when it comes to their first choice 11, they're going to have a lot of experienced players tagged in there, and they will bank on that to get them through, at least during the first half of the league phase, and then see what are the gaps that they need to plug and you know follow suit accordingly.
Certainly, yes. Actually, it was funny when you just mentioned that Pujara would be there to hold fort because pretty much all the Chennai players were holding fort the last season entirely. So, but yeah, nonetheless, I vividly remember that VVS Lakshman playing for Kochi Tuskers Kerala, and I think he smashed a couple of sixes, and Harsha Bhogle just mentioned saying that was Lata Mangeshkar doing rock and roll, or I vividly kind of remember that. And probably Pujara hitting a six, right? Uh, would probably remind me of that again. So, of course, it would be interesting because I think this is one of the team which has been constantly challenging. Of course, the Taladone factor is a big one. The team is supported by fans across the country, across the globe, whatnot. So, of course, never write off CSK. And to be honest, they have a better team, is what I feel. With Rhino also back in the mix, uh, is always a valuable player, valuable on the field, more or less a deputy leader as well. So would be interesting. And then I think quickly moving on, I think next we should be discussing about Delhi Capitals. Uh, to be honest, I've always said this. I think Delhi Capitals has one of the most uh, balanced, sorted out Indian lineup. At least that can be that statement can be made. Uh, Even without Shreyas Iyer, uh, they look solid with a couple of players probably filling in. Nonetheless, Shreyas and his leadership will definitely be missed by Delhi Capitals. It's a big hit, but having said that, probably it's a blessing in disguise for probably for another wicket-keeper captain that probably the country would see being groomed under the legendary Ricky Ponting. So I'm quite. I mean, for a fact that I've been an ardent Rishabh Pant fan from probably his under 17, 19 days, and it's indeed lovely to see him being promoted as the captain. Uh, Coming to their fixtures, right? I mean, they play 5 games in Kolkata, 2 games in Chennai, and probably good 4 games at Ahmedabad. So at least 8 to 9 games they are going to play on spin wickets, is what I personally feel. And their spin attack is quite solid as well. It's a factor now suddenly coming to India that this is a huge factor, unlike the IPL 2020, wherein it was all about paces banging here and there. With Nokia, Rabada doing very, very well for Delhi. But nonetheless, this time around, right, I think they're even balanced perhaps on that front. With Ashwin and his recent form, Akshar Patel and his recent form, and also Amit Mishra probably spinning here and there. Uh, it's going to be really interesting. Coming to the batting, right, I think Shikhar, Prithvi Shaw, Jinx, probably top three is more or less selected right there. Uh, I'm not very sure if Smith would get games right away. Hitmyer is probably a more stable option, with Stoin is definitely playing, and then the bowling attack of Akshar, Ashwin, uh, Rabada, Ishant also in the mix, and Nokia also has been in terrific form in the recently, played ODI series against Pakistan as well. So very balanced. Nonetheless, I think there are a few seam options that Delhi has, which are probably unexploited so far. Avesh Khan is a very solid bowler, and it would be interesting to see if he'll be getting some games. And I think we discussed this in the IPL auction preview as well. I mean, review as well that we've done a couple of months ago. Lukman Meriwala, left arm, bowler. Left arm paceman, and he has a nice side on action, and is being appreciated across. And I think these are few options that will be probably explored. And I think Delhi is quite balanced even without uh, Shreyas. And to be honest, I'm not very sure if Delhi ever had that home ground Firoz Shah Kotla advantage with them, because for some reason they've uh, not probably the most supported team, maybe due to the franchise, maybe due to the lack of success, maybe due to absence of players who are home ground, or and whatnot. But having said that, I think they'll be adapting to these conditions as well, because they have a very solid spin attack, balanced by amazing bowling attack, space attack, especially by the foreigners. So that's my take on Delhi. Looking forward to Rishabh Pant and coach success. To be honest, probably this is the one team that I'm going to support after Sunrisers Hyderabad. If Hyderabad doesn't, it fails to do well. So what's your take, Baya? What do you think?
Yeah, one of the strongest title contenders without a iota of doubt. They had a very good season last year where they were running away in the initial part of the league stage, and then
Mhm.
just tapered off during the end of the league stage, and then gathered themselves in the playoffs and played the final and lost against a better team on that day. But with the kind of Indian batting talent that they have got, which is probably, I think, the best amongst all the IPL teams, that should hold them in good stead. And even if Shreyas is being, rolled out of this current season, still they have the firepower in their lineup to make sure that they are going to give a lot of headaches to the other teams. And as you mentioned, the likes of Prithvi Shaw, Shikhar Dhawan, Rahane, I think Rahane might get a better run in place of Shreyas this season, and I definitely think he should be getting more chances and then Pant. So these top four Indian players and their top order are going to be absolutely critical to them. And yes, which hardly leaves any space for Steven Smith to come in right at the outset. And as you mentioned that as their foreign batting talent is concerned, I think they might look to have Shimron Hetmeyer and Marcus Stoinis being the all-rounder startup, where both these players will look for the top four Indian guys to set the platform for them, and they can come down and start instantly power hitting and get them those huge scores. And then when it comes to their bowling, the pair of Nokia and Rabada, who were absolutely wonderful last season, will look forward to carry on that momentum as well between South African duo. And they're very well served in the spin department also, as you mentioned, Ashwin, Akshar. They've got Amit Mishra also as an option if they need that, who can come in. The other overseas batting option that they might consider is Sam Billings. They also have him, so he's also a very good player, but underrated player. And they have their fast bowling base covered as far as Indian talent also is concerned in the likes of Ishant Sharma, Avesh Khan, as we mentioned, Lukman Meriwala, Umesh Yadav, not to forget, has been hired by them as well. So they have got most of their bases covered. And I think when it comes to their first choice playing 11, I see them going in with, as far as the force overseas players are concerned, I see them going with Nokia Rabada. Hetmeyer and Stoinis, uh, and then they can take it off from there as per the form being displayed by them. A very strong team, and I am again backing them to make it to the playoff.
Totally agree. Genuinely looking forward. I think the last one is Mumbai. I think, of course, Mumbai's squad can be talked about for hours and probably can be summarized maybe within 2 minutes as well. Because the kind of balance that they have, and their scouting and whatnot, they have one superstar emerging every year. But not necessary to invite, discussion or whatever. This time's fixture that Mumbai has seems to be a bit tricky. They play 5 games at Chennai, 4 games in Delhi, and two in Kolkata. So roughly about 11 or 14. They play on these three tracks, which are known to be massive turners or largely slower wickets. And they play 3 games at Bengaluru towards the fag end of the tournament. Uh, so of course, I'm not sure if I'm smelling controversy here. Probably, there'll be a lot many more discussions that are going to come sooner or later on uh, this issue. Mainly because their spin attack is quite good. Rahul Chahar, Krunal Pandya, and also with uh, Pollard and Pandya, Hardik Pandya being two bowlers who can actually take off the pace and can actually explore some amount of variations, right? With solid 3 to 4 bowlers who can bowl slow, and also Jayant Yadav, Piyush Chawla are options as well. So batting need not be spoken about with respect to Mumbai. They're going to stick to their strengths, but bowling this time around is even more tricky, especially because they're going to play solid 11 games out of 14 on spin wickets, and I think their spin artillery is quite good, and also with bowlers who can actually bowl, who can actually take off the pace, and can do uh, good with the ball. But it would be interesting to see workload of Hardik Pandya also being managed once again, perhaps. If you would be really bowling all the 4 allotted overs, if not, maybe just come in for an over or two. But keeping in mind World T20, I think he has to bowl at any cost, if not four, at least three or two. That's how he's going to get into the groove. And I think a fit, a three-dimensional Hardik Pandya is very important for us in the World T20. Additionally, I think nothing much can be spoken about their batting. De Kock is around, Rohit Sharma, Ishan Kishan at one down, Surya Kumar Yadav at two down probably, followed by Hardik Pandya, maybe Kunal Pandya, then Pollard. Uh, well, okay. Title contenders clearly. Maybe a hat trick for sure this time around. Have all the stability, and I think Mumbai Indians can play probably just two foreigners, maybe uh, Pollard and Bolt, and maybe can still go ahead and win the title. They maybe necessarily don't need even De Kock to play, perhaps with Ishan Kishan an option to keep as well. So would be interesting. So that's my take on Mumbai. Nothing much to talk. I still think they're title favorites, but uh, would be good to see another team winning. But nonetheless, the fixtures also would help them, is what I personally feel. Probably controversial. Mumbai Indians fans may not like it, but that's how I kind of see it. It's not that it has been doctored or whatever, or probably favored, but playing 5 in Chennai to start with, and then 4 in Delhi. So first 9 games you're going to play on pretty much slow tracks or spinning tracks. So what's your take on the overall topics that I just kind of mentioned? By what's your take?
Yeah, I mean, we don't need to talk much about the Mumbai Indians because they're a well-oiled machine and they have a similar kind of aura when it comes to the IPL that the West Indian and Australian teams had of the past. Pretty much invincible when it comes to this form of the game. And until last year, they used to win it every alternate year, but they proved everybody wrong and won it in an even year last year. And the next, what do you call, motivation for them, so to speak, would be to deliver a hat trick of titles and be the first team in the IPL to do so. I mean, uh, um, the kind of scouting and talent management that they had done in the early years as a franchise is what is holding them in good stead. I mean, they invested in the Pandya brothers and Jasprit Bumrah when there were absolutely no one, nobody knew of them, and they invested. So kudos to their talent scouting, and I think they've got the best talent scouting and fantastic Indian talent as well. Like you mentioned, they don't need to play four overseas players to win most of their games, but they will definitely do so, and they always do so. So I was just thinking, and on top of my head, Karan Pollard does definitely play, but they have developed a backup option for him in the form of Jimmy Neesham as well this year. So they have to cover that base as well. Quinton de Kock also plays as the first choice wicket keeper, with Ishan Kishan playing as a fielder, and then I see Trent Bolt playing in there uh, as the seamer, first choice seamer, and it'll be interesting to see who they choose as their fourth player. It could be either Nathan Coulter-Nile. Adam Milne has made back in the squad, and Shane Bond had a lot to do with his kicking for the Mumbai Indians. It remains to be seen whether he still is that tearaway quick that he used to be. And Marco Jensen is another one that is an interesting pick that they made. Interesting to see that whether they go with him as well. But it's a very well settled lineup, like you mentioned, with Sharma, Suryakumar Yadav. I mean, it speaks for the kind of talent that they have, that somebody like a Chris Lynn, who is touted as one of the best T20 players, never gets to look into the Mumbai Indians playing 11. Didn't play a single game, I think, last season. The kind of explosive batsman that is. So that's how strong they are in almost every department. And the one department that I would like to see them improve is their spinners. Yes, they have Kunal Pandya, who is, best okay spinner. That's why they strengthened it with Piyush Chawla, and they obviously got the likes of Jayant Yadav also in there, and Rahul Chahar as well. So they have invested a lot in Rahul Chahar, and his MI performances, I think, were instrumental in him getting into the Indian team. So uh, yeah, they will always start as the title favorites uh, for any season. And like you said, that the fans more competition over there, and they would like to see definitely them being given a run for their money by the rest of the teams, and that will make the competition far more interesting.
Fair enough. So, yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up the preview of the four teams that we decided. So we would be coming back with Bangalore, Sunrisers Hyderabad, Rajasthan, and Punjab Kings tomorrow. Would be interesting because these four teams, uh, uh, I think, would have a lot more artillery, and probably, and then we'll also come back with our playoff predictions, and then as IPL progresses, let's see what's actually taking place and whatnot. So that's about it, guys, from us today. Any final words, final thoughts, Pawan?
I think we did a good review, and we'll
Mhm.
come back with the rest of the four teams and then make our playoff predictions and see whether they go through or not. Because once things starts, they all seem to go haywire, and all the predictions are thrown out the window. So IPL always gives us a lot of surprises. So
Certainly,
and
yes.
those will be good.
Oh, yes. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much it, guys, from today for today. And then, yeah, we'll also come back with the second episode tomorrow. Till then, of course, you know the drill. Please do listen, like, share, subscribe, and whatnot. Take care, everyone. Bye bye.
Thank you.